All right, let's get right into it. We're going to tackle one of the biggest, most complicated questions shaping, well, pretty much everything right now. How does AI actually learn? And who owns the stuff it learns from?
When you ask an AI to write a song or explain quantum physics, it feels like it's pulling answers out of thin air. It's like magic, right? But the real answer is actually pretty simple, and it's kicking off this massive global debate.
So the secret sauce is data. Just mind-boggling amounts of it, all scraped from the open web. And that's exactly where things get complicated. The entire internet has basically become a giant classroom for AI, but a huge chunk of that curriculum is protected by copyright law.
So how does a model like ChatGPT go from just, browsing websites to writing a Shakespearean sonnet about your dog? Let's peel back the curtain and see how it really works.
It's really a three-step dance. First, you have these little automated programs, these bots, that just crawl all over the public internet. Think of them as librarians for the entire web. Second, they scrape, or you could say collect, all the text, the images, the code they find, and they dump it into these colossal datasets. And finally, the AI model gets trained on all that data, learning all the patterns, the styles, the connections between ideas. And this, right here, is the absolute heart of the conflict. That training data inevitably includes millions of copyrighted works. We're talking books, news articles, photographs, incredible art, all used to teach the AI without getting a single yes from the people who made it, and without them seeing a dime.
And as you can imagine, this has sparked a massive showdown. It's a real clash of titans, pitting the brilliant minds creating this technology against the creative minds whose content fuels it. And honestly, both sides have a pretty good point.
So on one side, you have the AI developers, and their argument is basically, hey, this is how creativity has always worked. Just like the critic Northrop Frye said, new art is made from old art. They see AI training as just a super fast, high-tech version of a human reading a bunch of books to learn how to write. It's learning, not stealing.
But for creators and publishers on the other side, this feels like an existential threat. I mean, think about it. If an AI can summarize their articles or perfectly mimic an artist's style, why would you ever need to go to their website or buy their art? They're worried their work is being used to build the very thing that could put them out of business.
Now, in the US, the AI company's big legal shield is a concept called fair use. They argue that what they're doing is transformative. The AI isn't just making a photocopy of a book, it's using the text to learn statistical patterns about language itself. The purpose is completely new, so they argue it should be legal.
But creators who are filing these huge lawsuits are not buying it. They're basically saying, hold on a second. This isn't learning like a human does. This is unauthorized copying on an industrial scale to build multi-billion-dollar products. And for that, they believe they should get paid through licensing deals.
And this fight isn't just happening in the US. No way. This is a global issue. And what's really fascinating is that different parts of the world are coming up with completely different rule books, creating this tangled, complex legal map for AI.
The difference is pretty stark. The US relies on that flexible but kind of fuzzy fair use idea, which means everything gets decided in these long, expensive court battles. The European Union, on the other hand, created a specific exception for what they call text and data mining. It basically says scraping is okay unless the owner of the website explicitly says, hey, don't do that.
And that little opt-out in the EU? Well, it's about to get some serious muscle. Under the new EU AI Act, that opt-out is getting real legal teeth. AI companies are going to be required to respect those machine-readable signs on websites, like the good old robots.txt file. What used to be a polite suggestion is turning into the law.
So you see, this isn't just some dusty legal debate about copyright. It's really a battle for the soul of the internet. It's about what the web is for and who gets to access all of its amazing knowledge.
We're really at a crossroads, aren't we? Are we sticking with the idea of an open web where information is basically free for everyone to learn from? Or are we moving to a pay-per-crawl model where data is a product that AI bots have to buy licenses for? The second option might protect publishers, sure, but it could also lock out smaller companies, academics, and nonprofits who can't afford to pay.
And this debate isn't just about who gets paid. It's about what kind of AI we end up building. Because if the data is biased or incomplete, the AI will be too. If important information is stuck behind a paywall, the AI's entire worldview gets warped. And this isn't just some theory. It can lead to performance gaps of nearly 20% in really critical areas. I mean, just look at medical diagnostics. One study on an AI that detects a serious eye disease found it was way less accurate for people with darker skin,
Why? Because the data it was trained on was imbalanced. This is a life or death example of what happens when your training data doesn't actually reflect the real world.
So with the stakes this high, we're talking everything from people's jobs to healthcare equity, how do we possibly move forward? The race is on to find some kind of ethical framework that lets us innovate without breaking everything.
And this is where global organizations are trying to step in. UNESCO, for example, actually got 193 countries to agree on the very first global standard for AI ethics. The goal is to create a common ground, a shared set of rules for the road.
And if you look at their core principles, you see it's not really about the code itself, it's about our values. The whole focus is on keeping humans in the loop, making sure someone is accountable, and building systems that are transparent and fair right from the start.
So, really, that's the tightrope we have to walk. The ultimate challenge is figuring out how to update our laws and maybe just our general expectations to let this incredible technology flourish, but without sacrificing the rights of the creators who made it all possible.
Which leaves us with this final, really huge question that is going to define the next chapter of the internet. Should the web be free for all of its users, including the machines we're building to learn from it? The answer is going to shape our world for decades.